Hey, Facebook. We are super excited today. We have Berel Solomon of Wealthy Co. and Mr. LinkedIn with us today. And before we dive in to talk to him, though, which I am beyond excited, I want to give a quick thank you to Serenity Engage, our title sponsor. And with that, we're back because we can't waste any time talking to Berel. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the ever famous Catherine Wells.
The ever famous. Hey, everyone! So glad to be here. Francis and I met Berel at a NIC conference, which stands for the National Investment Conference Committee Center. Thank you. Yep. Last year, 2018. I think, actually. And anyway, it was fantastic. And that is all about senior care. So we are excited to be here talking with Berel today. Berel, welcome to our show.
Thank you, guys. I was really, really looking forward to this. I'm actually trying to share it on my Facebook. Where do I find it right now?
It's on the Mavericks of Senior Living. It's on the Facebook right there. And then we also did a LinkedIn post as well too, Berel.
Okay, perfect. I'm sharing it to my personal LinkedIn because my Facebook. I want people to see this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And when we met, Berel, one of the things we were sharing was our contact information. And you said, hey, you know what? I just do LinkedIn. Let's connect.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, let's connect on LinkedIn. And you said, I'm kind of a big deal on LinkedIn. Do you remember that? And it was like it wasn't ego driven. It was like you won an award for the Entrepreneur of the Year, correct?
I did of Canada. Yes, yeah. I did. I don't even remember saying that to you, Catherine, but it sounds like something I would say.
It's kind of like a joking fun, like
yes.
And it got something going over there.
My office smells like rich mahogany, and I'm kind of a big deal. Exactly.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun way to introduce yourself and get to know you. And
so I was sitting at that same show. I was sitting next to a guy. He was wearing jeans, a T-shirt, very unassuming guy. And you and I both know how to work conferences, so I'm talking to everybody, right? Trying to maximize my investment. It's not a cheap show to go to.
No.
The NIC. It's an expensive show, and I give my card. I say hello to this guy sitting next to me. I give my card to him. He gives me his card. I say, "What do you do?" He says, I promote senior living," like very nonchalant. I take the card. I flip it over. He's the CEO of a place for mom.
Oh,
for mom. Okay.
Which, for those of you who do or don't know, that's probably the largest placement agency on planet Earth for senior living.
Yeah.
And so unassuming. And from that show, actually, I ended up meeting with him in New York, and we ended up doing a ton of great work with him. Thank God. So that's that was wonderful. A nice experience. That's a funny awesome. Story from the NIC.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I also want to say really quickly that part of the reason that we even had that conversation about what you do on LinkedIn is because you've been sharing your journey as an entrepreneur, like authentically and live on LinkedIn. And I love that. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Look, it's something that I am trying to do every single day, which is share what goes on. Because when I first started on LinkedIn, by the way, just so I know, guys, who's the majority of the people that are going to be listening to this thing? Is it people are in senior care? Are they people thinking about sending their loved ones into senior care? Who's like our target here?
We hit all of those. Yeah, we hit some of the people that are working in senior care. We've gotten reached out by a lot of people who want to break into it because they're not happy with how it looks right now. And then we also are hitting, exposing the opportunities to think differently for our current families who might be looking, break that status quo, right? Ignite some hope and find that passion, right? That passion that we can age how we want to age.
Sweet. So I'm going to try to lean this towards senior care so I could give your particular demographic the most amount of value. So just in terms of the LinkedIn, I started like 3 years ago. It was the most boring place on planet Earth. I remember the average post was like, this year's quarterly earnings are 1.1% higher than anticipated. And it was just like the most boring content in the world. And I just one day just filmed myself walking into a client, knocking on doors, cold calling and getting rejected and getting let in and all kinds of things. And people just started to really enjoy it. And I take 1% like credit for kicking LinkedIn into a fun platform where before it was just so boring and stiff. And for the senior living end of it, it's been such a big tool for me to help me build my business and grow my business, because senior care people are usually, these are business professionals, so where do I think they're spending their time? If they're on social media, for sure, Instagram and Facebook once in a while, but I see that the senior care industry is really on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And they're there to find talent. They're there to hire. They're there to network. They're there to see what's going on in the industry. And it has been a tremendous tool. LinkedIn has been a tremendous tool to help me access some incredible people in the senior care space. Maybe I should say what I do in the senior care space.
I would love to learn more about Wealthy Commercials, because I've used them personally and I think they're phenomenal, but I'd like to hear your side of it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I got into the healthcare industry by mistake, really. My main business is, I think, like we all probably did. It was no one grows up and they ask, at 1 year, in grade 1, what do you want to be? I want to be in senior care. It just doesn't happen. And we all sort of have our own story. But I was in the video production business, and one of my clients was called LTC. They're in New Jersey, huge company, 600 people work for them, great people. And they hired me to do some work for their company, and they invite me to this event that they put on the first year that they were putting it on. It was called the ECAP Summit, happens every year in Miami. It's like, it's pretty much every Jewish nursing home owner on planet Earth goes to this event. And it's kosher food, and so it's very friendly towards the Jewish ownership, and they invited me to come there, and I said, okay, why not? I have nothing to lose. I figure maybe they're going to introduce me to some of their clients or whatever it is. I took my last $500, I hop on a plane, and I go to it. And I am sweating the whole time because I'm saying, what am I doing here? It's a nursing home conference. What do I have to do?
Right.
So one of my clients was there. They were a construction company, and they took the video that I produced for them and they put it onto a video tablet brochure. I have one upstairs. I could grab one. And they were showing all of the nursing home owners the construction capabilities that they have through this video tablet brochure, and they were handing it out to all of the nursing home owners. I asked him if I could borrow one. He said, sure. I went over to every nursing home and assisted living owner, and I said, imagine we did a video of your facility. We put it on one of these video tablet brochures, and you can hand these out to the hospitals or community centers or families that are touring to see, to show them your building. Fast forward, I signed up one. Fast forward 3 years later, we've done over 300 buildings. Wow. Francis happens to be, one of our favorite clients, and you're in the memory care and ALF portion of it. Yeah. And it's just been a great. I never knew that a nursing home existed. I'm in Canada. There's not really any nursing homes here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what type of are there aging care models in Canada, or
it's
what?
Like, look, thank God I never had to look into it. But from what I understand is it's all government operated. So they'll tell you which one you're going to, pretty much, if you have to go to one.
Okay.
It's not like a privatized, even though I know the government officially pays foots the bill for people in nursing homes, you still have a choice. Right.
You could correct. Yes. You can choose where you go. Yes. Yeah.
Here you can't. It's like, oh, you have this, and this. You're going to this nursing home.
Okay.
Interesting.
Which is great for the operators because they all operate at 99% capacity.
Right. But what is it? But you lose that kind of individual touch, though, right? I mean, that's I think what I've loved about your videos. Is you highlight those unique features, right? Those unique activities or animals or colors or whatever it may be. So people don't have to just get stuck, because I mean, that was my big belief to get into it, was because I saw my two grandfathers, they were kind of just stuck with the status quo, like, oh, this is all we have. I guess we don't really have a choice type thing, right?
Well, I think that you're touching on actually the future of the senior care space. I think you're touching on something even bigger than we all could imagine. My parents are 65 years old.
Okay.
They lived a very nice life. I wouldn't say that, they're upper middle class, and they would never go to a facility that was not a top facility.
Right.
And I think that today it's becoming a big, I think that just here's for what it's worth, I work with, let's say, hundreds of nursing homes and ALFs. I never owned one in my life. I don't think I'll ever own one in my life. But from what I see where it's going, most of the people that go today, they don't even walk in with a smartphone.
Right.
That population, they don't have a smartphone when they walk into the building. So they don't have choices. To the future, the ones that will succeed are the ones that are the higher end buildings, the higher end facilities. I believe those are the ones that will succeed in the future. Like yours, Francis, and like some of my other friends that have, it's not just about, collecting the money from the government. It's about actually providing not only quality care, but a quality life.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. And
right.
And that's all about the individualized care and the personalized care and being able to offer different things for different people. And the individuality of the communities, like Francis's versus some of the other ones. And I think that since we're talking about the future, and that's what Mavericks is all about, inspiring and igniting hope and looking into the future for how we can change from where we are today and grow and evolve as an industry. I think it's really about how do we bring the whole care team together and have everybody operating collaboratively rather than mom or dad goes in here and now I go on with my life. Right, which is kind of how it used to be.
And yeah, I think, is that we just get stuck. We just accept like, okay, this is how we've always done nursing homes since the 50s in the States, or even, you look at Europe as well, too. They're trying to figure out how to do, is it boarding care? Is it, in-home care? I think we've got a lot of options out there, but I also think, too, we need some forward thinkers who are going to bust through this idea, right, that we don't have to accept it how it is. There are ways to showcase the benefits that we do, the care we provide, the environments that we create.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to my next question is, what's your big inspiration factor for what you do? Like, where does it come from, the energy that you have every day, the way that you kind of make things happen?
Good question. Thank you for asking. Just before I answer that, I want to mention that Texas is doing this really well in terms of the nursing home space. What I've seen, because there's so much competition there and it's so much less regulated.
Right.
I mean, you could literally go to Texas today and open up a nursing home.
Right.
Like with barely any permitting or nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So they're a great example of people who are it has to become more of a privatized thing, I think, in order for it to be sustainable.
Right.
So me personally, where do I get my inspiration from? Look, I'll be totally honest with you. This week I had a terrible week. I was not inspired. At the beginning of the week, I was like, I didn't feel 100%, and I didn't even want to tell anyone because I didn't want them to think that I had COVID. And like today, like you sneeze and people look at you like you're like a goblin. It's like it's just a sneeze, like relax, And so I didn't even tell anyone, and I just like I didn't have my mojo this week, and I think it happens to people more often than they would like to talk about it, but I'm not going to shy away from it. I didn't have mojo this week, and I think that my strategy, and with social media, it becomes even harder because you see everybody else moving forward, right? So whoever's watching this right now is going to think that like Francis, Catherine, and Berel are killing it, and crushing it moving forward. Little do they know all the stress that we had to deal with this week.
Yep.
Right? The headaches and nightmares that we had to deal with this week. So how do I stay motivated? I think that I accept that there are days that I will not be motivated. I think that's number one.
Yeah.
I think that targets are very, very important. When you're living hand to mouth, you don't have a choice. You're motivated because you have to work. But when you're not living hand to mouth, what motivates you? So I think that goals motivate me very, very much. Like real definite goals. Like, I know we're not supposed to talk about money in the senior care space, but I don't own a senior care residence, so I don't mind doing it. So, I have a goal to have $1 million in the bank, and by the end of the next 12 months. And so that really motivates me that, okay, great. I'm not living hand to mouth. I could not work if I wanted to for the next, few years, But what motivates me is I set goals. I set real, tangible, obtainable targets.
Yep.
And that's what pulls me forward. It pulls me into the future. When I don't want to work that day and I just feel like, bugging off and going, I don't know, who knows what, biking, I say, hey, I have goals and I have to accomplish them and I have to reach those goals.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I hear in that the concept of the SMART goal, the specific, measurable, actionable, I forget what the R is, and then reachable, I don't know, and then
let's just say it's reachable,
and time frame, and so being super specific. And I'm saying this specifically so that we can help our audience with, okay, how can I put this into action? Because you just gave some really great advice, and it's very easy to set up a goal and say, I want to have $1 million by the end of the year in the bank, and that's it. But what you did is you were like, okay, now how am I going to get there? And so I have a time frame. What's the action?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's important though, is that action and the accountability of it though too, right, Berel? You mean, you can have those, whatever, you can have a goal for whatever it is, but if you're not holding yourself accountable or acknowledging that you have to take certain steps to get there, that it's not going to occur overnight, you're just kind of teasing yourself, right? I mean, you've got to take the action, and we've got to not just talk about what we want, but we have to take the steps to do it. And I think that's what's important to us and you too, is being actionable, right? Yes. Not just saying, well, I want $1 million in 12 months. And then you sit there and you play on your phone all day. Right. I mean, unless you're closing deals on your phone, I guess, maybe, I mean,
that's it. That's what he's doing. I want to also say thank you for being authentic that you didn't have mojo this week. There are so many times that I have said something to someone like, I'm just not feeling it this week. I'm really struggling, or I'm feeling a little depressed, honestly. And then the response is, oh no, are you okay? How can
right. Like something's wrong with you.
Yeah. And it's a natural part of life. And I think that's a good thing to just what you said, authentically say, accepting that there are days I don't have my mojo. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with that. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to have my mojo back.
Right, exactly. So that's what bugs me the most, by the way, is when I tell people, like I'll put out a post. I literally just put a post 10 minutes ago saying I wasn't feeling it this week. I had a rough week. I ended up taking my kids out of school early. I took them for pizza, and we're going to start the week. Yeah, we're going to start the weekend early. Yeah. And I already had somebody send me a WhatsApp saying like, "Hey, bro, what's wrong?" Like, what's wrong? Yeah. I'm human. Give me a break. Yeah. Even President Trump, even Joe Biden has days off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like everybody's one of those two have more days off than the other one, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And if we accept that we're human, we could go live our lives.
Right.
We could go live our lives. So back to your question, how do I stay motivated? It's about the $1 million target. Look, I'll be honest with you, that $1 million target, it's a little bit more than I feel comfortable with. If you told me $250,000, I'd say, okay, I could do that. Like that's something I could actually do. $1 million is a little bit out of my target. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone. If you ask me exactly how I'm going to get there, I don't have all the answers. But what I do know is that a house or a mansion or an empire, whatever it is not built in one shot. It's built literally one brick at a time. Mm-hmm. Now, you could build those bricks faster, you could build them slower, but it still is one brick. One brick is laid at one time. So I go through my day and I just try to push things. I just try to get as much as I could get done. And it's just doing. It says that God blesses a person in the work of his hands, specifically, right? Out of everything a person does, you have like all these people, visualize and will come into existence. Like I tried that. Like I was a big believer in this book, The Secret. You guys probably heard of it, right? Right. And I think that it's still a positive thing. Like I do think there is a place for positive thinking, but it can't stop there. It has to be like positive thinking along with real concrete actions.
Yes. Yeah.
I think. Go ahead. Yeah, you're watching. Go ahead.
I was watching a TV show that was a repeat from the 90s, and they were making fun of the book, The Secret, literally just 2 days ago.
But I have to tell you, it's what the world needed at that point, by the way. I remember that it was a big phenomenon for a reason, because people weren't thinking positively.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's definitely a lot of benefits to it, and it's all about the action and accountability, which is really what Francis and I also talk a lot about here at the Mavericks: inspiration and accountability and taking action. Just do something. The way to get something done is to start doing it.
Yes.
That's how you get things done. So
I like that.
Well, I want to kind of spin a little bit in this because we're all going to hit our roadblocks, right? You know, COVID was a big roadblock. Life in general can be roadblocks thrown up at you. But one thing that I always, love following you, Berel, is you adapt. Can you talk a little bit more about this adaptation or this not settling, however you want to define it?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Can I download this after, by the way, as well?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Why? Yep. Because I was part of it, or you have to send it to me?
It's a good question. I don't know. Let me check into that. We can get it to you regardless. We'll get it to you.
Okay, good. Because I'm just gonna let the gloves off here. Okay.
All right. Yeah, please.
Look, COVID hit, and I was a big deal. Okay, like I said to you before.
Right.
I was a big deal before COVID. In the Jewish community, you would call me a macher. A macher is a maker. The guy who gets things done.
Right.
Okay. And I was that guy. I was on LinkedIn. I was on a plane every week. I was making deals, multi-million-dollar business. And I was, I had 20 people in my office, had a penthouse office. I mean, I was living the Canadian dream, let's say.
Okay.
Which is making money in America and living in Canada. That's the Canadian dream. So I was a big deal. And here COVID hits, and I'm in the senior care space. I have friends in the food business. They exploded during COVID. Exploded. I mean, you cannot imagine how busy these guys got. I was in the nursing home and ALF business and video production. It was like the first thing that went. Nursing homes and ALFs were the first things that got hit by COVID, and they got hit the hardest. I had $250,000 of contracts canceled literally within 48 hours. Do you remember there was like a day during COVID? It was like, I think it was like when Trump announced a national emergency or the WHO announced a national emergency. There was like a real tipping point. It was like a day that it was like Sunday. You remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Like Sunday was like, is this really happening? And Monday was like you couldn't get food. It's like all hell broke loose. Yeah. So that week, we packed up our office, and I'm laughing at everybody taking their computers out of the office because I'm saying, I'll see you guys back here next week. You'll see it'll all blow over.
Right.
It really didn't blow over. Everything got canceled. Everything blew up. And I remember I was sitting in my I mean, you guys, I posted about this a few times, and I recorded a video of myself, and I start crying in my basement because I'm sitting in my laundry room. And I start crying because I have nowhere to go. I have no one to see. I have no idea what the future is going to be. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to retain these 20 people that I have working for me. And I have no idea if I even have a business going forward. Maybe, ALS and nursing homes and everyone is just going to be forced to shut down, or the next 12 months it's going to be completely boarded up. I had no idea. So I'm, my nickname online is Big B. So I make a video of myself. I say, I'm not Big B anymore. I'm Little B. And I said, I used to be a big shot. And I started to cry in the video. And I'm talking about how I'm sitting here in my basement. I have no idea what to do, what's going on. And I posted on LinkedIn. My project manager from my company, she says, if you don't take that off, I'm quitting. She says, we're not over. It's not done. If we're going to continue this business, people have to think you haven't lost your mind, and take it off, and let's just weather the storm. So I took it off, and I called my father-in-law, and I said, what should I do? Should I look for other businesses? My father-in-law is very successful. If he doesn't work another day in the rest of his life, he'll still be okay. Thank God. And he earned that. He earned everything that he earned everything that he has. He said, "Nah, stick with your business." I had no business. He didn't understand what I was trying to tell him. He lives in Panama, in the beach right now during COVID. Yeah. He didn't understand what I was trying to say to him. So I see that masks are a hot topic. Everybody's trying to get their hands on masks during COVID. You guys probably experienced this. You could not get a mask like in like June, like the beginning of June. You couldn't get your hands on a mask. And I had friends who were doing this. So I started posting. I made a post on LinkedIn. I wanted to test the waters. I said, I have 1 million masks in Brooklyn, New York. Who wants them? I got about 150 inboxes on my LinkedIn saying, I'll pay any price. I'll pay any price. It doesn't matter. Price is no problem. So here I knew I had the demand. but I didn't have the supply. So I kept on posting about it, and I kept on saying to people, "Hey, if you tell me what you want to buy, I'll order it from China, and I'll do the deal for you." Nobody was. I went like 2-3 weeks. I almost gave up on this because nobody wanted to order from China. Everybody wanted landed product. Nobody wanted stuff from China.
Okay.
So I called one of my friends who's in the business for 20 years, much before COVID started, and I told him I offered him stuff out of China. He says, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't offer anything out of China. Buy it yourself, land it, and then sell it." Because nobody wants to take the risk. Who knows if it's going to show up? No one's transferring you money. But if it's here, you're going to get a premium for it, and there's buyers. I'll take every mask you could get your hands on. So I had a friend of mine who saw that I was posting this, and he said, "Hey, I want to go partners with you. I have the supply. They were in the sock business. They manufacture socks in China." He said, "We converted our factory to masks. We'll put up the money. We'll put up the supply, and you sell it." We brought in our first load. It was 30,000 masks. I sold them before they hit the ground. Like, I couldn't drop the box, and by the time that I dropped them out of my hands till they hit the ground, they were sold.
Wow.
I called them. I said, "Daniel, we have to get more." We ordered 100,000, sold 500,000, sold 1 million, sold. So we started importing them by the millions.
Wow.
By the millions. We were probably the biggest distributor in Canada for 2 solid straight months, and nobody knew about it. And because I have a lot of friends in New York in the nursing home business, and I saw what was going on, and Canada's always like a few weeks behind New York, and in general, we're behind in Canada. So I was way ahead of the curve. I was selling masks at one point for like 90 cents a mask, where today the market is like 15, 20 cents maximum. So at one point, my partner says to me, "I want to bring in 5 million masks. We're going too small. Instead of bringing by 1 million, let's bring in 5 million." I said to him, "Daniel, not only do I not want to bring 5 million, but if I could cancel the 1 million order we have in the air," we were flying them in, by the way.
Wow.
That was the whole trick to the game, because a lot of people put boats on the water with masks,
right?
Where we were beating the ships ships to land, right? So every by the time the boat got there, we landed 4 or 5 planes to hit the ground. But I said, "Daniel, not only do I not want to buy another 5 million, but I want to cancel the 1 million in the air, because I just got wind that there's a boat that's about to hit in the next week, and we're out of business the second that hits the port." Imagine 1 billion masks reaches.
Right.
He said, "I can't cancel it." I started fire selling these masks like crazy. I was unloading them for cost price. And my partner was very upset at me. He says, "What are you doing?" He said, "You're unloading all of our masks. We were selling them for 90 cents. Why are you selling them for 30, 40, 50 cents? I said, "Because when the spit hits the fan," spit, by the way. When the spit hits the fan, or when the music stops, I already want to be in my chair. I don't want to be caught standing up. We ended up cashing out. Thank God we did phenomenally well, and it kept me in business during this very difficult time. It kept me relevant to my nursing home clients because we were supplying them. And so this is all coming to answer your question, Francis, that you asked. I hope I didn't ramble for too long.
No, it's great. It's fantastic.
So how did we adapt? I couldn't sit on my hands. So I turned a rotten situation into one of the best financial situations of my life. Thank God.
That's amazing. It's so cool. It's so inspiring to hear that, because I'm also someone who sells into senior living with Serenity, and it got really, really hard for a while. And
it was rough.
Experiences where it's like, you're sitting there and you're in tears going, why, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this?
So I'm not the only one that was in tears?
Not at all.
Francis, did you shed a tear? It's okay if you didn't.
No, I shedded tears because of the amount of things that we had to do quickly. I was a firm believer that we had to be first to act to keep our residents safe. So it literally was acknowledging just the moment that we were in. And, we made the decision in Colorado. We locked down about a week to 10 days before there was a state mandate. And I felt bad for our nurse and myself as we were getting yelled at by family members that thought we were overreacting.
Wow. Good on you.
When that mandate came down, we literally, families were like, "Oh, I guess this is really serious." And so I think we took aggressive action, but that's how I've always been, is, push the envelope on creative and smart and aggressive solutions. And we were one of the first assisted livings to start testing for new residents before they would move into our homes as well too. We did not want to move a single person without knowing they were COVID free. And we were doing, PCR testing, but it was very, I call it stressful days where and I'm still today, I remind our team, my biggest fear is complacency setting in, because we can only be so hyper focused. That's what we were hyper focused for 90 days of checking this, checking that, ordering supplies, looking at budgets because of how expensive things were. But also still trying to make sure we didn't isolate our residents. So we were trying to, give them a sense of community still. And fortunately, because of our small model, we were able to do that. And our residents have done relatively well. Does it break my heart we can't always have families connected? Yes, but things like Serenity or FaceTime or other things made it work. And so,
what does Serenity do, by the way? What does Serenity do? Is that it? They do
Nope. It actually, when you are a family member and you can't rely on mom or dad's self-report anymore, like for example, my mom was nonverbal the last few years of her life in memory care, or my dad, if I called him and asked how he was doing, I would hear, no one's been to visit me in months. They haven't fed me in days, all lies, but it gives the family a mini heart attack.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So Serenity is a HIPAA-compliant group messaging platform that lets family and staff communicate and collaborate and provide the best quality of care, peace of mind all throughout. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone's helping each other, and it helps the resident immensely.
And it takes it out of the text messaging and puts it into a single app so that you get notifications. You can look at it when you want. Our staff can upload it anytime, and the family's not obligated to respond immediately. It makes it a very fluid system that enables us to share the positive things that come with living and aging and all the benefits that we can provide. And it's not just this, I'm getting older, like, blah, blah. No, it's like, you're getting older. It's an honor. Let's celebrate it. Let's have some fun. And this is what we're doing.
Share the moments of joy that family misses, especially right now.
I would share the bright spots. I think this is probably the number one problem that people are facing in nursing homes today is communication or ALFs.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would be happy to, after this, if you could show me that, and I think I can make some great introductions for you. Because that's the number one thing I'm hearing. I was just doing a training at a nursing home. Like all the marketers for all their nursing homes, all their regions. And I asked, one of the main reasons why people don't want to go into an assisted living or a nursing home today is they say, I'm not going to be able to talk to mom or dad.
Correct.
I won't be able to go visit. So I said, well, what do you mean? You guys are doing, FaceTimes every day. And they all looked at each other like, yeah, it's not every day.
It's not every day, and it takes
once or twice a week if they're lucky.
If they're lucky.
And it's a lot of time on their part, because usually the resident can't do it themselves. There was just some amazing research that 8.8% of residents can handle that on their own. The rest of them require help. So
that's not good.
Time, right? And that same research showed that only 50% of families right now in the United States feel like they're getting enough information about their loved one. They get plenty about the community, but not about their individual loved one. Right. And Francis and I talked about this on a Facebook Live yesterday, actually. Like, when did half become good enough?
Right.
That's a failing grade.
That is a failing grade. That's a great point.
Yeah. So there's a lot of room for us to improve.
A lot of room for us to improve dramatically, I think. And that's what's really important. That's what I'm excited about. I think we're at this awesome tipping point, though. Like, I really do believe that in senior care, senior aging across the world, we're at this amazing tipping point where COVID has made us take a pause, look at what matters, reconnecting with families, friends, neighbors, but also now really asking ourselves, is this how I want to age? Or what do I want? What do I want out of life, and what matters to me? Is it work? Is it family? Is it a combination? So I think COVID's been a blessing in the eyes of people have had to recognize what matters.
I agree. 100% agree.
And let's be honest, connections with people matter. Connections with each other matters.
Yeah.
Money is important, but if you don't have the connection, you're not going to get the money. So it's a balancing act that you have to do.
and everything comes from above, and so did COVID for some reason.
Everything happens for a reason. Yes,
100%.
sir.
100%.
So we always like to end the show with this question. I think you're going to have a great answer, I'm hoping. 1 year from today, what do you hope we have all learned?
What do you think we've all? Wow, that's a great question.
1 year from today. So,
yeah,
that you've hoped that we've all learned. Yeah.
You mean like us here or everybody?
Anybody, anything that you hope for. That
Look, I'm gonna say something that it really, how could I say this, hurts me and bugs me is when I see a lot of people around me who are going for average.
Oh.
And it ties into what you said before, 50%. When did that become good enough?
Right.
And I hope that by this time next year, I don't know if it's going to happen or if it's possible, but I hope that everybody around me and everybody, starts really reaching for their potential and really goes way above and beyond what they ever thought possible.
I love it.
That's so powerful, though. That is. But that's amazing. That's what matters, though, is that you don't have to accept where you are. If you're down and out today, that doesn't mean you're down and out tomorrow, right? Correct. Or even 6 months from now. I think that people have to find that fighting spirit again, and it's out there, right? I mean, you're a prime example of just not taking COVID you took COVID in the chin and you shifted, right? And then now you're back to doing all the other amazing things you do. And Kathy did the same thing. And, those that have that fighting spirit are always going to come out ahead. Might not be next day, but it will be down the path. So I love it. I love it.
Good, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we were aiming for 20, 25 minutes. I think we're already 30.
Yeah, we're 30.
And I think we could keep on going, to be honest.
We could. So we'll have to probably have you back on, though, because I love listening to your way, your thought, your thinking, your inspiration. Your messaging is just so amazing, and it goes a long way.
Francis, you're a great guy, good friend, good client, and Catherine, you're awesome also. And let's catch up after this.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.